Welcome to Roleplay Cafe. It's Dale here. Jason didn't get the opportunity to play with us last night, so I'm going to attempt a recap and reflections of the 50th session in the Chronicles of JOTH. Blackfish Bay area is where we've been fairly entrenched in the last, I would say, probably 20 plus 30 sessions. Playing around this area. Who knows? It could, with this portal opening up, but so far has been filtering in and introducing new personalities and beasts and races into the localized area. However, when we left off in 49, which I didn't get a chance to play, but I believe Jason's character had called out the usurper Alpha in the Longfane's camp, and the main Alpha had gotten sick. It was under the care of the alchemist there. So this is where we came back. Now Todd, because Jason wasn't there, made a little situation where he was out of pocket and we could proceed with the 4 players we had, which was myself, Blake Zurius, David's character Lauren, which I believe Lauren has seen more JOTH time than any other character ever in the Chronicles, which that's saying something. And congratulations, David, for keeping him alive, because it is a dangerous world. And the die can determine your fate just as easily, if not more so, than your success. So, kudos for beating the odds. Now, John's character, George the Liar, was there present, and my character, Zurius, knew of these 2 characters. In fact, it got separated from them in the woods and was part of that ill-fated expedition, but obviously he found his way back to where the Longfang camp was and happened upon this conversation that they were having, along with their new companion, Eric's character, which I cannot recall his name right now, but he's a priest of Thraxus. And from what my character can ascertain, he's very adamant about, staying within the tenets of that religion and paying his tithings properly to keep the wax back, etc. So he's very much banging that draconic drum to keep us all in line with Thraxus's magisterium over the land. So when my character Zurius comes upon the scene, they're talking with this emissary for a baron who is trying to reach Blackfish Bay to speak with the priest in the Temple of Thraxus there. I guess, I don't know if to coronate or either, pronounce or set up his uncle's, control over this area. It'll be a little barony. He's bringing that news. So they're meeting him, and my character, of course, is Zurius. He's an illusionist from JOTH who has gone through the portal and trying to expand his holdings, or at least his inventory, as he deals with trinkets and curiosities and artifacts, relics, anything of interest. It probably doesn't have to, because he's an illusionist, probably doesn't have to be exactly legit. If it can be passed off as a facsimile or believable, with these relics or whatever that he may ascertain. But nevertheless, he's got some interest in speaking with this young man, thinking that he can be in his uncle's ear and probably get exclusive rights to the relics within this territory or backing to set up a museum or what have you. That's his main drive as he enters into the conversation. So he does his little sweeping bow and tries to put his arm around the young lord. I can't ever recall his name. But his bodyguard manservant kind of steps in the way, interposes between the two, and brings a halt to him, to which my character kind of gives him a downward glance, like, what are you doing here? You know, I'm just befriending my my newfound friend here, and we can move forward and all this. But those two had been rescued in the previous session by Osric and his capable Osric Parrish. That was Eloy's character. But they did rescue those two horsemen. So now horses are a thing in JOTH. Because you have to come in contact with it to introduce it or possibly procure one. Now, they do not have to make it the rest of the way to Blackfish Bay. So that's what the young emissary wishes, to get our services in protecting him as, and escorting him down to Blackfish Bay. Now, at some point, I'm a little hazy about the chronology of this, but John's character, George, leaves off before any deal is met, and he makes his way around to the back of the hall where the ailing alpha, the long thing, is bedded down, being supposedly cured. He sets the building fire from the rear, works his way back around, and comes in to announce the fire and ring the alarm, raise the alarm, and get everyone out. But they're already spilling out, coughing, sputtering, and whatnot. And he's saying, "Is anyone left inside?" He's getting a head count of who was in there actually in the building, and they point out that they couldn't get the alpha out. Now he goes in, he dives into the flame to become a hero to try to get the alpha out. Now Todd rolls to see if he's actually alive when he gets in there, and luckily enough he is. And George is, with a roll, strong enough to be able to pull him out and lay him down. Now, before this happened, I believe, while we were in there talking, there was some Longfangs who came back. They were in search for Hilda, the egg layer, which, Zurius, to his surprise, George has a thing for this Hilda, which he thinks it's in jest immediately. And, there's some raised eyebrows and some sly looks as it eventually starts to dawn on him that there's some kind of love investment that George has toward Hilda. Now, he tried to harm these hunters, as they have their respite, as they come back in before they head out again, as they're in the lodge. And I cast dancing lights to dance along with his song, and which gives him a bonus. But Zurius doesn't really realize what George is. So this is another moment when he was wanting to ask them about Hilda, what they had discovered. And of course Zurius makes light of it and like, why don't you just ask them, which they are charmed. 3 of them were put to sleep, and the other three went out and to do what they had to do, to go to the other areas to get some drink or meat and something to eat. And so he does ask the three that are asleep, first in their sleep, and I believe one of them, Josh was awake, to question him about what went wrong, what went on. This is when I think he breaks away and goes to do the fire. And I had continued my discussion with the young lord, I'm trying to bend his ear to get as much information as I can about the impending barony and the baron who's going to be over it, and to see if I can get any exclusivity to rights over certain things as far as Zurius's intent and interest. Now, Lauren's sitting there raising an eyebrow at all of this. And whenever the young baron asked about being escorted there, I look at Lauren and say, yeah, this would be a good deal. We need to get to Blackfish Bay to, I'm eager to help this young emissary along, to get favors, as it were. Well, Lauren weighs and measures the situation. He's offered 10 gold to go as the group, and he bids for 12, which they agree, since they're digging deep in their purse. They're able that much at least. So Zurius is like, fine, it's decided. We're heading that way. Well, I sit down with the young emissary and try to regale him of a tale in JOTH. He doesn't know, or my shop, it doesn't ring a bell for him. He doesn't know of it. So, Zurius sits down to speak with him. But the others go out when they hear the alarm of fire. They're out as they're pulling the body out. They go around. They're checking out Eric's character. Tries to, first of all, Eric's character does cast, he'll cure light wounds on the young nobleman with the broken leg. Or, say nobleman, but the emissary, the baron's nephew, which does affect him to where he can at least keep up a certain speed with us as we travel, in anticipation of the traveling. Well, George has already set this fire. Unbeknownst to us, but he's drug this alpha out that's laying there, and we're trying to determine what's going on with these. The camp is fairly desolate of population because the groups are out looking for the Kraken, as well as that one returning group that came back to look for Hilda, as she has escaped. So a lot of the retinue of men are out and about. So the defenses are kind of nil. And we're sitting here talking, and Eric's character is looking over the alpha whenever we hear these men run in, scared, running with the bandit, and it's after us, save us. And lumbering is this 8 foot, behind them is this 8 owl bear. It's about 40 feet away from us. So we get behind the fire. The character suggests we back him into the slave pens. It's in between us and him. Grab the torches and push him back. Maybe try to catch him off. They don't respond. All that, we can't get any kind of coordinated effort amongst the rabble that's there. Half of them want to break and run. So we decide this is better left up to the Longfanes, as they are the monster catchers, right? And this enables us to quickly ascertain, which there had been a little bit of of a question about whether we wanted to take, wanted to leave the young Baron's nephew, as food for the owlbear, in effect. But Laura's like, I've already struck a deal. I've got to do this, and I'm like, it's a perfect time to leave because I'm not about to face this owlbear. So we decide quickly to, uh, vamonos, we need to get out. So that's what we do in haste. We leave, and as it begins to run amok in the camp, we're dealing with an injured nobleman's nephew as they're trying to make it back to Blackfish Bay. Well, we're going about a half speed trying to keep up and watching our sixes, Lauren. So we do make it there. We do a couple of rolls for situations where it's chained up, and there's lookers that are grieving, their relatives. These unfortunate souls were. That's when I cast to see if it is an illusion, because I'm reckoning that the last time I saw one of these was one of them that didn't look fully undead like I'm seeing now, and was claiming that he wasn't one. Yet the people around, I was speaking to one of the ladies, and she's like, that was my nephew. I knew of him, but he got lost in the swamp, and now all of a sudden he's this creature, but he's it. And I'm like, okay, well, aside from that woman, where's the Knights of the White Door that are here? Are they still in Blackfish Bay? And she points me towards something that was right in front of me. They're hanging, both of them are hanging right in front of the little depot that the Knights are headquartered at. So I walk in between the writhing souls, and the rest follow me, and I to the guard there, and I try to question him about the crystal that I'd seen as I had passed those two riders about a week and a half ago. And what were they? And he wasn't so interested in complying, along the lines that looked like a questioning situation in his mind, where he might have been lured in by my argument about attaining it, but then duty snapped in, and he's like, no, there's only one. It's a holy relic. We use it to do this and that. No, and he slaps himself, straight. So that's another one that didn't pan out. What I mean by another one is because the Baron's nephew didn't play ball either. He was like, well, we're not really interested in relics. So it was no. So but discontented, disheartened that no one wants to play along and facilitate his need to acquire any more rarities. So he's a little bit disgruntled, and we pull out, and then we have to pay tithes again, which I believe John's character didn't want to pay the tithe on the 12th gold. Again, we'd already paid, but my character hadn't paid the tithe. So it was 14 gold for me. Though I had 140 on stash, so I paid it. I wanted to see if there was anything in this Blackfish Bay that I'd never been to that would be worth looking into. Now, when we crossed over into Blackfish Bay proper, my character in mine, and I said this after the fact, but in mine, we got in there, started to take him to the temple. Our the nobleman's nephew, of which I had become totally disenchanted with, even following along any kind of lines of interrogation toward him. He was a dandy, a fop, a fraud. It was an empty well there. So I was really interested in what they were doing, but they had they took him to the temple, or was going to take him to the temple, and they were talking about it. Well, I got bored with that, so I'm meandering my way through the streets, and I go into shenanigans. And while they're talking about what to do, they don't see me depart. That's when I sit down in shenanigans, and I noticed that the proprietor, Ignatius, I don't know him by name, but he's got this fox hat that is alive and nickering and trying to scratch him, encaged on his head as he's serving drinks or whatever. And there's a little hope that's rekindled in my eyes as I look at him, and I got my dagger and I'm picking my nails and whatever, and I look at the attaining. And right after I think that, my cohorts have been bantering about what to do and where to go, and go into the temple with their charge, this young nobleman, the Baron's nephew, when they hear an explosion, and so do I, and out of the top window, swinging out with a bag full of coins into the... Now, JOTH has been, for a reflection over the last 50 sessions, I think more, the 50 that Todd's run, there was one that Mark had ran. Todd mentioned that last night. Or if anyone else. Several years. We've been doing this for at least 4 years, maybe 5. But it's been a well-worn, comfortable pair of shoes. It's old school. There's a little bit of gonzo-ness of JOTH. I remember when he first brought it about, and he's probably, I know he runs this in other groups, and there's some crossover. But when he introduced it, and I loved his art. It was evocative in some of his descriptions. I remember first bugging him about play. Well, we need to play it. We need to play it. And I'm glad we did, because through our play, as well as the other group he runs with us, and it's funny because whenever I think back about, like I was talking with my son, who's played in a couple of sessions with us. He didn't get to play last night, but I mentioned it to him, and I was like, which one? So many people that have dropped in and played over these 50 sessions. Todd noted that myself and Justin and Mark Richardson started out playing JOTH, and it has swollen to various number of sessions, but it has generated a wealth of history and memories. And like I said, when I mentioned that to Jory, and I was like, my son, I was like, well, you came into this instance because Gregor hit you with his tentacled arm, and that was Gregor's first assault in my mind, as far as where he was going down that wrong path of banditry. Because initially he was our guide into the woods. Down because he was our guide, and the pixies caught up with him because they were chasing us down. They cursed him with the tentacled arm. Well, later, when Ignatius got enough, he got a gourd of jewels, he decided to retire of the Golden Fox until he could make his way south to trade it downriver at the larger city. Get some real worth out of it. Or if somebody was coming through that could actually pay for it. But he wanted to keep it plain and, hidden in plain sight, as it were. Would use it to wipe the bar and just get a hold of the armor. The Grudge Guardian was no joke. But we finally dug out that tomb, got a hold of the armor. With the light, that it would, when anytime the light hit it would take the apparition away. And we got the be his personal bodyguard to some extent and protector. Yeah, there's always a string attached with Trotter. So I remember when that's when Trotter called him Thornblade, and he would be his side, at his side. Well, later on, there were two wolves that very much like the wolf in my. And we're talking by the time the Elven Hunters got to us, and this was much later. They came upon the whole party and they cast sleep at a certain point. Everyone failed except Trotter. And Trotter's the only one there, and he thinks they just killed everyone. the suit of armor back, because they were friends with the dwarf that was protecting that armor, right? That was their, it shouldn't have been robbed, as it were. They were attaining, dropped to sleep, and he fended these elves off by himself, and they were lucky that was all they had taken, was the armor or whatever, and they then owed him for their lives. So Trotter's a piece of work. That's where you'll hear his name come up every. That ends up on Ignatius. That when Trotter drops that information to these elves, when they were like, "Where's the fox? Where's the golden fox?" He lets them know. That was why they showed up, and will forever torment him. And now we're in a situation where Zurius is looking for curiosities, and he sees this perfect head with a live golden fox skin cap, Kurt and JOTH. Just from my perspective and what has happened to different characters of mine. I'm sure everybody who sits at that table has memories and shared memories and occurrences throughout the chronicles of JOTH campaigns, and allowing us to live inside of it. And session 50, and still looking for more enjoyment in the game, in games to come. But anyway, I'll let y'all go.